Hey everybody, welcome back to Recall the Podcast. My name is Josh, the vocalist of Recall the Moment, and today is our anniversary for the podcast. So that's what we're gonna do today. It's a big old long thank you to all the bands that have been out here, the artists, musicians, all the people that have helped out around the show and doing the episodes and the filming, editing, all of that. This is just one big thank you to everybody. So happy anniversary, everybody. It's a whole year of the podcast, almost 2 years of the band, and it's just been such an awesome time. Really can't wait to see what the future holds. 'Cause there's a lot we haven't done yet, and a lot I'd like to do. So this video, we're just going to go through some of the videos that we've done in the past for the podcast and kind of talk about some of the things that went on at that time, or maybe the room change, or a conversation that we had with a guest or something like that. And it's going to be recorded over the course of a handful of days. So if you see shirt changes or hats or something like that, you know why. We're going to start off with episode 1, the very first episode, and it was done we call our studio the Hobbit Hole. It's always been the Hobbit Hole, so if you hear that reference anytime, that's what it means. It's this room. We call this room the Hobbit Hole. And it was a very impromptu, like, hey, let's just slap some cameras on and throw a table in the middle of the room and see what happens. And we had no idea what we were going to say. It was very awkward. Neither of us knew what topic to talk about. We had no plan in any way, shape, or form. We just decided to pull a table out and see what happened. There we go. Hi, we are Recall the Moment. My name is Josh. This is
Justice.
I am the vocalist for Recall the Moment. He is the guitarist. We are a dynamic duo of musical talent. We figured we would just make this podcast and show everybody who we are.
Introduce us.
Exactly. So it might get a little weird. We don't know how this is gonna go, but we figured what the hell, try it out anyway. And so a couple of fun things is the recording in the background is a rough copy of Ridicule. So we didn't have anything to put back there. So we were just like, hey, let's make the screen look fun. It was before we had all the thumbnails and stuff to put as the screen in the background to kind of phase through a couple of different images at a time. So I just pulled up one of the tracks that I was working on at the time, and it was Ridicule at the time. So that's what the tracks of Ridicule used to look like when we were working on them. Another fun thing is the recording equipment in the middle. You might be able to see it, you might not. Is called the PodTrack P4. Something I still have it, and that's what we used to do all the audio up until January of this year, and I ended up getting a new mixing board, which is, you might be able to see it in the camera here a little bit, is the Zoom L8. I'm a fanboy of Zoom. I like Zoom products. I've been using Zoom for quite some time. We did originally start off with Tascam and their recording equipment, and that got us to where we are now. We are the only 2 members of this band. There is nobody else. It was a trio, I guess you could say.
Well, let's start from the beginning.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so me and you have been playing together for years now.
Yeah.
We started out with Titan Aram, which was a 3-piece.
It was a glorified cover band of Alice in Chains. So it really was. It really was.
So once that was done, then we actually.
Don't you just love all the microphone noise and the clacking of the table and stuff? But yeah, it was just a glorified cover band of Alice in Chains. We did do some of our own stuff, and especially later on in that band, we did a lot of stuff that was our own original. But the beginning of it was pretty much Alice in Chains 24/7. Stained every now and then.
Hatred is mutual.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was done more as evolved, because it was the same people, but we grew up and
minus one.
We added more people to it. Yeah. But the idea was still the same almost, you know.
Yeah.
And then writing our own songs.
But yeah, when Hatred came out, that's when I really started writing my own music, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I thought, you know, we did some amazing stuff in that band too. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's how we met most of the musicians we know.
True. Yeah. Then I think we had a little break after that because certain situations.
Yeah,
and,
I had a kid.
Yeah.
And I needed to take some time. That I did.
Family stuff going on too, and
yeah.
So then we became thinking back, looking forward.
We did.
You had a couple other things in between there, but as far as me and you, yeah.
I guess so. Thinking back, looking forward is still on Spotify. So if you want
it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It should be on Pandora too, right? Or did they take it off?
I don't know.
Okay.
I know it's on Spotify.
Right.
I don't know about Pandora. But those songs were recorded on a Tascam. So yeah, go check that out. That was our first little entry in internet stuff.
Yeah.
So, and now we are a full-fledged band on the internet. We're going to skip ahead now to episode 2. The scenery changed. We decided to make it feel more legit. Got us a nice little tablecloth and everything. But there is so much microphone noise, and it still bothers me today that, you can really tell that, we have no idea what we're doing, which pretty much is summed up in this episode. But this piece here, it, is rather interesting.
Sometimes that's going to happen, but...
Yeah, I think it's kind of crazy, though. We have such a unique sound, and we started as practically a cover band for Alice in Chains.
Yeah, and Stains.
Right.
We was playing a lot of Stains.
We did
covers.
play a lot of Stains. You're right.
Alice in Chains, yeah. I remember them days.
Yeah, exactly.
R&R Grill.
Yeah,
Crystal Pistol.
Didn't we do the Apple Scrapple and stuff?
Yeah, we did Apple Scrapple. Yeah. We did Riverfest in Seaford. We did that. Yeah,
I remember that. Yeah. That was on a porch. Which one was it that we were sitting on the porch?
That was Riverfest.
That was Riverfest.
That was Riverfest. Okay. And Apple Scrapple was at the church.
Yeah, I remember the church, yeah.
We couldn't use our old name because it was a little offensive, I guess.
Yeah.
I still love that name, but I guess I don't know, man. Doesn't work for a band, I guess. That's,
The church was always nice to us. They would give us cookies and stuff. Yeah. I mean, it is, what, Titan Harem?
No,
or this hatred is mutual. Yeah, you can't call yourself that at church. I was nervous for Remlia because I had never invited anybody out to do a podcast. So this was it was just me and Justice at the time. So when this happened, first off, very grateful that they decided to come out and hang out with me. Second off, I had no idea what I was doing. I still don't. Let's just be real. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just making it up as I go. But sometimes that's the best thing to do is just kind of do it. The world doesn't spin if you don't do anything. So let's go ahead and see what they had to say. First state metal, kind of mantra type deal.
Yeah.
I like that. That's pretty cool.
They've been running with that for several years. I don't even know when they started that. Yeah, might have been back in 2015, 2016.
Yeah. So. And who started the legislative or executive?
Denny did the. He considers a band as a structural, fundamental government type of deal. Because you look at a band, it's like a business. So you have
that happens.
Executive who makes the final, who pretty much has the final say. So. Judicial, he was our treasurer, but me and him have kind of split that. I still have the money box, and I've been making purchases for the band, shirts wise and merchandise and all that.
Very cool.
So it's easier, and it's easier for nicknames too in the chat, especially when we have 2 Zachs now. So
right,
you executive, he's House of Representatives, I'm legislation.
Okay, so each of you carries your own branch of government.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. So what will you be?
I'm in the House of Representatives.
You will be the House of Representatives. Okay.
Which kind of makes sense since I'm here.
Fair enough.
I'm legislated. I'm pretty much. I mean, Denny does his own advertising with the band on social media, but I push more
Right.
because I have more time. I have a lot more time on my hands.
Fair.
Even when I'm working, because I drive, and if I'm not driving, I'm in the passenger seat to jobs. So I'm always online doing something, advertising.
I wonder what that would make me in this band recall the moment. Am I the executive? That would be cool. I'm the executive. The Farsalia interview. Steven. He was really cool, and I'm glad I met him. He introduced me to the podcast that happened after this one, the next guest after him. And he's a really decent dude. We've stayed in contact. He's got a new project. Project Elrond is what I believe it is called. And if I can find it, I'll leave a link in the description. But we had a discussion about like the future of music and AI and technology. And I gave like my own personal opinion on prediction, and he gave his. And I think it's a conversation worth listening to if you go back and watch the entire video. For now, I'm just going to clip out a bit of a segment of it and see what he has to say.
$1,500 for a song.
How far do you think we are down the road until every band's the Gorillaz? Nobody knows them, nobody sees them. It's just pictures and images, and then the background music is all AI.
I don't know, because like the Gorillaz, that was their shtick. Like that was like their
you know
thing.
There's gonna be other bands out there that
I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
But I think it's like for people, like for me personally, like I can listen to a record, for instance, God, what was the Wage War? So
Okay.
I had a buddy who kept trying to get me into Wage War. We were working construction at the time, and every morning he would play Wage War's Blueprints album. And I was like, they're all right. They're all right. And then we went to Warped Tour Columbia one year, and they opened up the stage. And I was like, holy shit, these guys rip. And it's just like, I don't, whatever happens in the studio happens in the studio. But like, I don't think anything for me personally will ever replace that moment. Like when you're seeing, when I saw Under Oath for the first time, I saw the Rebirth tour, which they played in, which is now the Ben Franklin Observatory, I think, but it was the Electric Factory. And I had watched their early 2000s DVD that was shot at the Electric Factory, the Survive Kaleidoscope. And it was just such a, like, I can't believe I'm here at the place that video was shot, watching my favorite band of all time. And, like, it brought tears to my eyes. Like, I literally cried during that show. And there's just something to be said about that where, like, I don't think AI can ever replace that.
Maybe not for us. Maybe not for the older generation. I still believe this, by the way. I have kind of a feeling with more technology. Look, our kids are getting technology a lot faster than we did when we were kids. They're accelerating it at a rate that nobody's ever seen before. I feel like by the time we're, our parents' age and our kids are all grown up, I have a 5-year-old son. And I feel like I've seen it in him. Like, he can operate a Nintendo Switch better than any of us in the house.
I feel that.
So, yeah. So, dude, that Super Mario Wonder game, he is 6 now. He's maxed it out. It's completely done. They're all like all the levels, all the stars, all the coins, everything. 100% all the way through. Got all the little gold medals. This kid is 6 years old. When he's my age, maybe they don't care about it as much.
Well, I think that goes into a whole nother topic of conversation where it's like...
You might be right.
The age of, like, TikTok. Like, TikTok has, I think, changed the world in a way that some people don't even fathom. Like,
True.
It has made information so accessible, and even for, like, political standpoints, like, it's almost impossible to get away with anything now.
Yeah.
But then again, like, that overload of information, I do think that this younger generation, like, it's going to take so much to wow them. Like, you think about it, in the last year, the government on multiple occasions has, like, been like, hey, yo, aliens exist. And we're just like, So there's COVID. like, what else is gonna happen? Like,
We need groceries.
yeah. Aliens exist, but like eggs are like $9 a carton. So take me to a planet where they're cheaper. So it's just it's.
That feels even more relevant today than it did back then last year, because I know he was like joking with the $9 eggs, but it's getting closer every day to that $9 mark. All right, and continuing on with our adventure here into Recall the Podcast history, the next one is Dayne Melvin. And I'm really glad I met this guy. He is just a genuine good guy. He's come around a couple of times to helping with lighting and helping me figure out what to do with the podcast and kind of talking it out and just having a friend to really kind of discuss this stuff with. It was a great conversation. It became a great friendship. And definitely make sure to check out some of his music, because it is definitely worth it. So let's go ahead and check out this little snippet of the Dayne Melvin interview.
And I think we got something we were happy with. And
yeah. Do you find it more enjoyable to write a track on your own or with somebody?
I think enjoyable. I think anyone would say on their own, because you don't have someone else saying like, "Hey, I think this is better." But there's so much more worth. Again, I think in just collaborating on, like, writing things. Right. I do think it depends, because there's a lot of things that I've written, some that have kind of seen the light of day, some that haven't, where I wouldn't want anyone to touch it.
Right.
Lyrically.
Right.
I think that's an interesting thing for me, is like when I write music, like I don't think melody. I don't think like, normally my starting point is not that.
Right.
Maybe I'm like playing a simple progression on a guitar and like kind of making some stuff up, but most of the time it's like like even now, like I have a bunch of like just notes that are like 2 lines or like 1 line, or like, hey, song about this, like concept wise. And
so you do it to more get like your message out of what you want to say.
Yeah. Songwriting, I think what I've learned for myself is like songwriting's been a lot of like just coping. I wish it was the only thing I used to cope.
Right.
Unfortunately, that's not been the case. And you lean to kind of other things, but I do think that songwriting has helped me. So it's like you jumped into the conversation of, I don't really write happy music.
Right.
It's like, I've just kind of ridden the wave of the joke. I'm like, it's sad boy and like whatever. 'Cause it is. And, I think you can get more from it than what people, maybe are just like willing to admit.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. He talks about doing the sad boy music stuff, but I mean, like, he's just like always positive. Like, anytime I've ever discussed anything with him, he's just a positive force. Like, there's always a good in somebody. There's always something, positive to think. So, yeah, he's just a genuine good guy. This next one was right around the holidays, Thanksgiving, actually. I can't remember if it was before or after Thanksgiving, but it was around Thanksgiving. And we didn't really want to invite anybody out just because we were doing the family thing. We had my family here, her family, and we were like kind of trying to do the juggle of, what's happening each day, where's everybody going, what's the plan. I had ended up deciding that I wasn't going to do a podcast. And then Crystal had volunteered to do the podcast with me anyway because she was, really into doing the art. She was relevant to the band because of her time with the edits and all the artwork, and she heard all the music prior to its being released. So it was a very relevant conversation. So we decided to go ahead and do it with Crystal as a guest. And, it was a really good discussion on the differences between having AI do your artwork for you and having an actual artist do your work for you, and what the differences of that were. And that's where this conversation picks up is her trying to explain the time difference between putting images into an AI and having someone hand draw them or hand edit them for you. What's the time difference between what AI can do now versus the way that you just described it, where you're drawing out a bit of paper and then putting it in? Like, from start to finish, what do you think the time difference would be? How long do you think it would take you to do it just you, without AI?
Without AI, if I were to recreate Ridicule, you got like 5 more years.
Really? You can tell that it's around the holidays too, because we are both just exhausted, and it shows on the screen for sure. Look, families are wonderful, and it's a great time of year, but it is very busy and very exhausting. So if we both look tired on this video, it's because we definitely were.
Because it has so many frames. Like, I don't remember how many frames is in Ridicule, but it was at least, I'd say
There's a good handful.
At least 40.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be able to animate it on my own. I do not have the capabilities for a computer processor or anything to animate it, nor the knowledge.
And how long do you think it took you to get Ridicule to the point it is now?
I think it took me about a month and a half.
About a month and a half?
Month and a half, yeah.
Okay. Ridicule is a 4-minute song. And it took a month and a half to make this stuff. Which I kind of knew. You and I had... And I have it written down on a list here to talk about, like, our relationship and how working with the band and stuff together. But it's a 4-minute song, And actually, sounds like I had a bit of a cold as well. For me to write a 4-minute song is a lot like that, too. It doesn't happen in 4 minutes. You start off with a bit of guitar, or you move in to some vocals, or you'd make a drum pattern on something. And that's actually how Ridicule was made, is Justice, the guitarist of the band. He wrote the acoustic guitar on it and sent me the track, and he didn't think I would like it. I've explained this before on the podcast, but I don't know if she's ever listened to me tell that story or anything like that. And he had sent it to me. He didn't think I was going to do anything with it. And then I started putting electric guitars over top and kind of forming and shaping the song to where it is. And then we ended up meeting a producer, Eric Blackwhite, and he did his own adjustments too, and kind of helped us kind of see it in a different light. And then it became what it is today. And he's featured on that song too, so you can go check that out. It's Ridicule. Should be on Spotify, and same definitely on YouTube. You did a video for the YouTube video. Yes. So it's a long process to make a song the way that it is, and then your side of it. Once you got it, you got, for the most part, a completed version.
Yes. Of
the song, and I was just like, look, I don't want to be involved in this. I just want you to do what you do. So I guess that kind of leans into the other part of the conversation, is us working together and making those decisions together for the band to get the video done. What would you say our relationship's been like throughout the course of working together between our home life and the band? Hey, I just noticed in the background there's we finally got our slides going on the computer, so that's cool. And doing the graphic design.
I'd say at times we're pretty busy working on our different projects. But my projects don't usually start until yours is done.
Right.
Yeah. Like, it's
Which
hard.
makes me impatient. Because I did a lot. That's really how it ends up going too. Is like I'm done, and I give it to you. I'm like, is it done yet? It's true. It's very true. Is it done yet? Is
Yep.
it done yet?
But you usually give me like a scratch track of like the idea of, and I'll come up with some kind of ideas, but I won't completely brainstorm until it's finished. So I know that all, the meaning behind the song is still intact.
Right. Right. Your past experiences of it is a challenge sometimes. I'm not even gonna lie. Working with your partner, it can be a great thing, but if you don't give each other enough space to do their own thing and get their job done, it can become a headache. So sometimes I found with Crystal and I, sometimes working together means that we know what our objective is and we have to work on it separately. Sometimes, not all the time, just like some things. Because if I'm over her shoulder every time she's editing a video, it's going to frustrate her. It's going to frustrate me. I'm going to start nitpicking and what are you doing there and why are you doing this and what's going on there and what was that thing that you cut out and what did you add? And she doesn't need that. And, so sometimes working together means we have a common goal. We share this thing together, but you need to go do it on your own so that you can concentrate. And that's really how it ended up, and it worked out really well. I think that video, the ridicule video, that turned out really, really good, and I'm very, very happy with it. Podcast is going to be a little different today, or this month, I should say. I haven't invited a band out. I wanted to do it on my own. It's a holiday again. It's actually Christmas. Merry Christmas to anybody who celebrates. Happy holidays to anybody who celebrates a holiday but not Christmas. The Christmas special. Or what we would call the Christmas special, right? It was just me in front of a camera. I had just gotten this new camera. And I mean, like, it is what it is. I was trying to explain some things in this episode that needed to be explained. Some of it was just me explaining, like, the gear that we use, how we're doing the recordings, what the videos are looking like, and what kind of ideas we had in the future. And then there was a portion of this video that was very important, and it's something that nobody could control, but needed to be said. And I wrote down the number. It is 150. And this is important to watch. Oh, it's just going to be a little different. A question that has been asked of me several times in the last couple of months is, where's Justice? He's not on the podcast. Nobody's really heard from him. His Facebook's kind of dormant. And the honest answer is, I can't really talk about it a whole lot, but he's incarcerated. If you would like to go through public records and figure out everything on your own, by all means, you are your own person. I'm not going to, talk other people's business, but it does relate to the band that where he is in this time. He's been gone for a couple of months now, and what happens after that, I don't know. Is he going to come back? Is he not going to come back? It's all up in the air. So, your guess is as good as mine. Whether he is here or not, the band will go on. The YouTube channel will continue, and I will still be here. I'm going to do this podcast every month, and we are still going to be releasing music. But on the Justice end of it, I don't know yet. And I still don't, if I'm being completely honest. I still don't know. And I still can't talk about it a whole lot. There's not much to say right yet. Nothing's changed. But I do feel as though I have honored my commitment to continue on with this YouTube channel and to continue the podcast and to keep doing the music. And I feel good knowing that it is still continuing. But I still don't have any information on that, and I can't, and none that I can share at least. So it is what it is, but that's where we are. This is day 3 of recording this video. It's a lot of content to go through. The next one up is Being Malleable. He did a performance for us as well, which you can check out on the channel. And we ended up talking about, when he got here, he asked to talk about a topic that was discussed in the Dayne Melvin video. He thought that he had something else to contribute to that conversation. So that's where we're going to pick up the conversation on this video. Everybody has their own perspective or opinion on music and how to write it and all that. And that's where we're going to pick this one up, is where the conversation left off with Dayne Melvin, and it continues in Being Malleable. All right, well, you have been waiting for me to ask you a question until Dayne was here.
Yes.
So I am going to ask it now. We're going to go back into talking about writing, and you've worked with a producer, you've written with bands, you've worked on your own. Do you prefer to work or write on your own or with others?
Yes. And I didn't want to misquote or misparaphrase Dayne, so I actually wrote down what he said. But so I watched your episode with Dayne in preparation for coming here, and his answer was, this wasn't the entire answer, but he had mentioned, Dayne had mentioned, anyone would say on your own because no one would then say to you, oh, this is better or that is better. And Dayne, you specifically mentioned with lyrics, how you feel about writing lyrics is very personal, and it's like you wouldn't want anyone to touch it. And that is definitely a mindset that I had at some point. And for whatever reason, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I thought it was really cool that when I heard that, I was like, I don't feel the same way. And I like how that really shows how music is subjective.
Yeah.
That like anybody's approach to music can be completely different from someone else's approach to music and have it still be a good product. I'm a fan of Dayne's. I met Dayne at the first show that I played with the band that I was in last year.
Everyone's a fan of Dayne. He's like everyone's friend.
And I've been excited to see you do more stuff too. So
don't you worry, we're gonna take care of Dayne.
Yeah, definitely nothing negative about that or anything. But like for me personally, I do understand like having personal lyrics and everything like that, and especially in that band, I would put a lot about my mental health out in the open, and wrote about that. But one thing that for whatever reason, I mentioned I took that big gap from making music, and getting back into it, I decided to really embrace people changing things around. And that's been a big thing that I've been doing with Eric, is I will come in with some lyrics and he'll be like, oh, maybe you should try.
He's referring to Eric Blackway. He's a producer of Blackway Productions. He's also the guy that Recall the Moment uses to get music produced as well. And his name is rather common through the podcast, all of them. Like I think his name is mentioned almost, if not every podcast.
This, maybe you should move that. There's been times where I'm like, I think a song is going to go a certain way, and then we have like an extra section that I didn't think of. So with Go specifically, we talked about how that chorus is different each time.
Yeah.
The way that it is the second time, where I only have essentially one line before I go into the, I don't hear any color, I don't see any sound, but that to me, that's like the end of that, going into the transitioning to the next part. I only had one. And Eric was like, I really think that you need to do that again. Like, this is a chorus. You got to be a little bit more repetitive with it. And I had nothing prepared. So I was like, let's make some lyrics, and I definitely will have little like mini powwows in the middle. I'll be in the vocal booth and I'll be like, what about this? And Eric's like, what about this? Like going back and forth. And I personally find that I love working collaboratively. And it's funny, I read an interview with Chino Marino from the Deftones, another big influence for me, and he's doing a project with a friend of his called Crosses. Awesome project. Kind of similar vibe to what I'm doing with this. And he said that when he works alone in the studio, he just ends up getting distracted and like going off and doing something else. And I was like, God, I vibe with that so much. like I love having someone else to bounce an idea off of and to be like, is this good? I mentioned when we were doing the fourth song, I was like, Eric, I have a chorus and I don't even think it's good. And it's like we just kept trying something different.
Right.
So I just thought it was really cool that listening to that, I was like, I totally respected Dayne's answer, but I was like, I have a totally different answer. Like I should make sure that we do that. So I thought that was fun.
And I'm gonna add a third answer to that. So this is gonna be the third time that it's been kind of answered. Is we've said on the podcast before, especially with Justice and myself, that he was really good at starting a song, and I was really good at finishing the song. And that's honestly how I work the majority of the time. I really feed off of other people's energy. If you're writing music with somebody who's very low energy, that's what I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you a low energy song. But if I'm working with somebody that has a lot of high energy and really wants to get something done, and you can tell they're dedicated and you can tell that they're really pushing, I'm going to give it my all as well. I feel like I'm really good at feeding off of other people's energy when writing a song. So that's technically a third answer to that now, is that I like to work collaborative, but I don't want to be the one to start the song. I want to be the one to be able to push it past that goalpost and get it to a completed product. Everybody's got their own little deal with it. Drowning Violet. They were actually really cool, and I'm very grateful that they agreed to do this, because this was the first over-the-internet podcast that we had done for the channel. At the time, all the letters were red, and we've since changed that out to green, which you'll see in the next video. But they were very willing to volunteer their time and get on a video chat and see if all my equipment would work the way I thought it would work, and that the templates were going to work out, and everybody could see each other, everybody could hear each other. So I'm forever grateful for them, not really knowing me at all, taking the time out of their day to really sit down and help me configure my gear so that we could start taking the podcast outside of Delaware, so that we could expand the pool of guests that we had on the show. So now that we know that we can do it this way, we're able to communicate with people that are much further than Delaware and cannot make it here. So this is the episode that makes that possible. And that's pretty cool. So they did give some words of advice to some new musicians. So we're going to go ahead and listen to what they have to say on that subject. And I appreciate you guys being here. I do have a question for kind of like the whole band, for people just starting out. If you have any advice for people that are literally just starting out and maybe formed their first band, someone young, someone new, what advice would each of you give to someone that's just coming into this kind of sphere?
Yeah. So my advice to them would be, don't give up. A lot of a huge part of what we do and what we look forward to doing is getting out on the scene, developing that grit, developing the perseverance to, okay, you're tired one night, but guess what? You got a show to do. Or, hey, you got a show to do. Let's practice some more, and here we go. Let's get ready for that stuff. So just keep doing what you got to do and stay strong and develop that grit and determination to do what it takes to do what we want to do.
Very good. I like that.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I would say probably, I think push past getting yourself to like actually put your music out there, because I think that's could be a big thing that, at least I struggled with, where I feel like sometimes I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this. So I feel like pushing past that is something initially that can be hard to do. not knowing how it's going to be received and that sort of thing. But that's what I would probably say advice-wise.
I'd say always have beer in the fridge on practice nights. You're never going to make it. If you don't do that.
Wise words of advice. There's always that one guy, right? They were pretty cool. If it wasn't for that podcast with Drowning Violet, we may not have ever done another over the internet video chat styled podcast. But because they were willing to help out and get online and video chat, that opened up a whole new world. And it changed, honestly, a lot of the way the podcast is going to look moving forward. Whether they're here or they're over the internet, we're going to keep the templates. All the templates changed after that. So I really do have them to thank for the direction that the podcast itself is going. And we're here at the final episode of our little anniversary marathon thank you video. And it is Hannah Trowbridge. And that one was an important one to me. Not only was she willing to get on and do a podcast, but she was also a backing vocal track on Input Code Reboot, one of the songs that we have released already. Go check that out. And this is where all the templates kind of became the permanent templates for the podcast. And this is, at least for the time being and for the future, what it's going to look like from here on out. So let's go ahead and take a few minutes and say hi to Hannah and see what she has to say. It's got to happen. It's got to happen at least once, right?
That's nice to hear. That's
and
good.
Plus,
That's great.
You and I have never been in the same room together, so I think that would be like a fun video anyway.
Right.
It's just, well,
like
I mean,
walking up
like,
the stairs, like, here I am.
well, yeah, I mean, like friends meet each other one year and they'll go, like
Right.
it would be a really cool thing to have
It would.
filmed and recorded and put on the YouTube that we actually got to hang out and meet each other and work on this thing and put our hearts and soul into this song type thing. So I think that would be a good weekend. That 3 or 4 day weekend. Yeah.
I was gonna say if we could do like at least a good 2 full days, and whatever. Say I end up there sometime on Friday and end up leaving sometime on Monday. We would have a good 2 full days to work on everything. We should record or / video everything, almost like a vlog type of thing, just so that we have it. Not that we have to do anything with it, but just so that we have it as proof that I was there.
Right. Yeah. You
I did
definitely
this.
should. And exploring Delaware is small. You can pretty much do everything in one day. And just to kind of go through that, we have been in discussion on how that looks, when, where, how to get her into Delaware. Her and her boyfriend are discussing options and trying to figure out plans. Nothing set in stone, but it's looking more and more like a possibility, and I am very, very excited to be able to write with them. Her boyfriend plays guitar. She sings. I like to play guitar. I think we could really work together and hash out a good song as a trio. And just, I don't know, maybe we'll put it out, or we're definitely going to have to videotape, like, all of it, and make, like, little fun videos out of it. And just her and her boyfriend's time here in Delaware, and all of us kind of getting to hang out and meet each other. So definitely excited for that. And that is going to do it for our anniversary episode. Happy anniversary, everybody. We made it through an entire year of the podcast. We've met some incredible people. There is so much more in the background being discussed, planned, booked, that is, I can't even talk about right now, but very exciting for the future. We've got some really, really awesome guests coming up this rest of this year. Definitely something to look forward to. Definitely like, share, subscribe if you like what we're doing here. We post a weekly video of a review or a reaction every Monday at 6 o'clock in the morning. we do this podcast once a month, and we post a music video every couple of months. The production on those costs a little bit of extra money, so sometimes they take time to not only get produced and edited and mixed down, but also, the extra cost attached to it. So thank you. Sincerely, thank you to everybody who has watched this channel. Thank you to everybody who has liked, shared, subscribed, made a comment, sent us some love. We appreciate every single one of you. And from me to anyone who has helped out with this podcast or spent some time watching these videos, thank you. And I cannot wait to see what the future holds. So with that all out of the way, peace and love, y'all. See you next week.